Check over in the newsroom with Bernie Bennett in just a moment. First, though, here's Peter Noon and the guys. Great memory from 65, Peter Noon and the Hermits. Hermits here on WNAB. Let's check over with Bernie Bennett. And Bernie, what's going on in the newsroom?
Well, Neil, we're going to look at a report of 3 suspects from Bowie accused of murder and other charges in Anne Arundel County. An update of an accident in Lothian with 1 man injured, and a look at teen smoking in Maryland. All that along with your weatherbug forecast after headlines from CBS News.
Well, thank you, Bernie. And following news, I have a request for Gary Lewis and the Playboys. We'll take care of that right here on your hometown station, 1430 WNAB.
Again this year, multiple news awards winner from the Chesapeake AP Broadcasters Association. WNAB Annapolis.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Capital One.
I'm Pam Coulter. President Trump doesn't like the new border deal.
I have to study it. I'm not happy about it. It's not doing the trick, but I'm adding things to it.
And leaders of both parties are urging the president to go along with the deal.
I'm Bill Rakoff. It's a bipartisan plea to the White House.
Please, Mr. President, sign it and don't cause a shutdown.
I think he's got a pretty good deal here.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and the Majority Leader Mitch McConnell respectively urging the president to sign off on the funding measure. Republican Senator Richard Shelby helped craft the agreement.
Of course, any negotiated settlements, nothing's perfect. Nothing's, you don't get everything you want. I didn't get everything I wanted out of this.
A subtle hint, perhaps, to the White House. Bill Rakoff, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
A New York federal jury convicted Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman on all accounts. CBS's Jerika Duncan.
You had phone calls in which there were alleged drug deals with El Chapo speaking about where to go next, where to put these drugs. You had images of the drugs. You had a diamond-encrusted firearm. But this case really came down to money, leadership, and drug crimes. And El Chapo found guilty on all counts.
Guzman is likely to serve life without parole. Flooding is a concern in the Pacific Northwest as a storm moves from snow to rain. The system is so big it's also hitting the Northeast. WCBS TV weather anchor Lonnie Quinn.
From New York up to Boston, not really kicking in yet, but it's going to. Snowfall totals are relatively modest. We're talking maybe, say, around 3 inches for New York City. I think the evening commute will be tougher, but then you get up to northern New England. It's up to 2 feet of snow in some spots.
Former Vice President Joe Biden was among those honoring the late Michigan Congressman Joe Dingell at a funeral mass in Dearborn.
I know it's beyond my capacity to sum up a man, if I had 5 days, who, like John Dingell, to do justice to who he was. But he wanted us to celebrate today, celebrate his extraordinary life.
3 women students are suing Yale University and 9 fraternities to force them to take women as members. The lawsuit claims the frats allow dangerous environments that allow sexual misconduct to thrive. CBS's Meg Oliver.
In a statement, Yale told us they have no comment on this lawsuit, but that all students are subject to discipline for sexual misconduct. Now, the lawyer representing all of the fraternities told us the claims in this lawsuit are baseless and unfounded, and they look forward to vigorously defending this action in court.
At the close, the Dow up 372, NASDAQ ahead 106. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by the Capital One Venture Card. When you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase, your next trip is closer than you think. What's in your wallet?
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want, okay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while the choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes, and you'll always find people ready to help you.
Hi, Katie. Can you hear me?
For consumers only, offered by Capital One NA, member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
It is 4:04 here on WNAD. Let's join Bernie Bennett in the newsroom.
Thanks for having me, Neil. Serious prison time after being convicted in Anne Arundel County of murder and other charges. Prosecutors say 23-year-old Shamar Ham and 2 others went to South Main Chapel Way in Gambles last January. There they robbed 28-year-old Andrew Colta in a parking lot, shooting him in the process. Colta died from his injuries. Prosecutors say
I can hear you.
Dwayne Comet shot Colta in the back. Getaway drivers identified as Celeste Long. The robbers took $17 from the victim's wallet. Sentencing for the trio is set for next month. A man is being treated for injuries after being freed from the wreckage of an accident near the Anne Arundel County line. Officials responded to the crash in northbound Route 4 near Talbot Road near Lothian yesterday afternoon. Officials say for reasons unknown, the driver of a pickup truck veered off the road and struck a tree. Prince George's County EMTs responded to the call. The driver, who had believed to have been in his mid-60s, was freed from the wreckage and transported for his treatment. A new report says tobacco use among middle and high school students is on the rise. WNAV's Emil Galina has details.
Dr. Brian King is with the Center for Disease Control's Office on Smoking at Health. He says tobacco use has been on the decline until recently.
That progress that we've made over the past years has been completely erased, and it's a primary result of e-cigarettes.
The CDC reports nearly 5 million students reported being current users of some type of tobacco product in 2018. That's up from 3.6 million in 2017. About 20% of students are using multiple tobacco products, both e-cigarettes and regular cigarettes. One jurisdiction, the city of Chicago, is suing more than 24 companies across the country that sell e-cigarette vapor liquid and accessories. The lawsuit, filed Monday, claims the company's online retail and marketing operations violate that city's municipal code by targeting and selling to minors. Emil Galina, WNAV News.
Morgan State University is receiving a $1 million grant to start a rocketry program after winning the Base 11 Space Challenge to build and launch a liquid-fueled rocket. University President David Wilson says it's about more than just prize money.
What they were saying there is that, I can do that too. I can build a rocket. We are going to build this rocket. We are going to win this national competition. That was more gratifying and satisfying than anything else.
Morgan State plans to house its rocket program in the Center for Built Environment and Infrastructure Studies building. The City Council of Annapolis postponed a vote last night on legislation aimed at keeping schools from overcrowding, extending a year of debate. Mayor Gavin Buckley asked his fellow councilors for more time to talk with state and county legislators about ways to alleviate overcrowding in schools without restructuring the kinds of housing availability in the city. He faced fierce opposition from Alderman Ross Arnett and Rob Savage, who felt the council has had more than enough time to research the bill. The council in December delayed a vote in order to give Mayor Buckley more time to consult with the county. With your exclusive 1430 WNAB.
All right, so we're ready to begin.
Rain continued out this afternoon.
I'd like to call the
Rules and City Government Committee to order. For the record, please note Alderman Arnett and Alderman Savage are present. The first item is approval of the agenda.
I move approval. Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, approval of the minutes from the January 8th meeting.
Move approval of the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Next, appointments and reappointments to committees. We have the reappointment of Kevin A. Chase to the Ethics Commission. Mr. Chase, join us.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. So you'd like to be reappointed to the Ethics?
Yes.
He's been waiting for a year to be reappointed.
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe it expired about 9 months ago.
Wow.
I've been serving, waiting for reappointment or replacement. As you know, up till January, we only had 3 members out of 5 for the Ethics Commission. So we needed all 3 members to achieve a quorum.
But the way the code reads, even if your term runs out, you're on until you're replaced.
Replacement, right. So you have been able to conduct business with the 3 members that you have?
Correct.
Okay, so.
And they have a very busy agenda coming up.
Well, why don't you tell us why you want to be reappointed?
Well, I believe that I've done a really good job. I have rise to the vice chair. The 3 of us have been working really well together. We're looking forward to the new member that you guys appointed last month. We'll be meeting with him on our first meeting on the 19th. We've had a number of good changes to the ethics code, and I feel that I've been making a good difference with the city, and I want to continue with my service to the community.
Okay. Are we now up to date with the changes from the state?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Questions for Mr. Chase? Rob? Alderman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Kevin, I just want to say thank you for serving on the board. You know, whenever I've come to the board with questions and been really quick with thorough responses, and so thank you for that. And whenever we've had questions from the committee or otherwise, it's been just very excellent. So thank you for being able to continue to serve.
Thank you. We've had you know, kind of a sense of urgency with regards to a lot of opinions that come through, because we know that decisions need to be made, or for some people, like past employees, that it is affecting their livelihood, and we want to make sure that we get them the answers as quickly and as possible so they can continue with their work.
Is there anything you'd like to comment on in terms of the Commission's work for the next few years? Anything you want to focus on?
One thing that I would like to focus on, I would like to work with the city to produce a list that is available to all committee members or council members or employees that have to fill into the financial disclosures that they do not have an interest in any businesses or organizations the city does business with, so that there can be a little bit more transparency for the people filling out the financial disclosures, as well as for the public in general, about that part of the code.
Thank you.
May I ask then, there is a question on the ethics form that asks if we are conducting business with someone else who is doing business with the city. So are you wanting to add organizations to that?
Well, call an organization is also kind of a business, so that's kind of a term that I would use, but it is basically with regards to businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's basically vendors that are getting paid by the city.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
So just I'd add my thanks for job well done. I'm glad you're willing to come back and do it for a little while longer. And to that end, I would move we recommend approval. I'll second.
Okay. Motion to approve the reappointment of Kevin A. Chase to the Ethics Commission. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, and we'll make our recommendation to the full council at the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, Alderman Arnett, are you prepared to speak to Ms. Chen, or?
Yeah, I'm prepared, but I also respect, your view that people need to be here. It's sometimes hard. She happens to be out of the country, but if you look at her resume, I know her because she lives the street down from me, and she actually has been anxious to be on this, and
Nothing happened, so finally she told Will, take my name off, if you can't get to me. So then when the opportunity came, he went back to her and said, please, will you? But, she has a PhD in medicine and a law degree. I'd say she certainly is showing she's trainable, and I think the law degree is a good fit for the committee. I know she's very energetic. She's starting, they moved recently to the neighborhood. They moved into the house that Sarah Robinson was in, that 521 Burnside, that infamous case of years ago, the first test of the 3250 rule. Anyway, and they've immediately gotten involved. Her husband's a great cook. And I think we should have a party at their house.
Does her travel, does she travel for her job?
No,
and that's why it's...
No, she's, this is an opportunity. She's back in her home, and she's Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
So she's back in her homeland for a visit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not work-related.
Well, I look at her application, and the date on it is February 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Can we assure her that we want to take up her appointment at the very next meeting?
Well, that's what she would like.
Yes, and absolutely, we will not delay this any further. So,
Okay.
Ms. Green, if you could put hers on, and hopefully she'll be back in country to be here.
So when you say put it on for the next
Yeah, next agenda.
Rules Committee.
Rules Committee.
Which is March 12th.
Which is March, right?
March the 12th.
Okay. So that's it for our appointments, and we have one piece of legislation, CA 218, aldermanic titles.
No?
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 Oh, I'm sorry.
I nominate Sheila
Annual
Finlayson
election
for
of
chair of the...
committee chair. Just skip right over that, I'm sorry.
I second that nomination.
Are you guys sure that you're not interested in?
Well, let's discuss.
I didn't even realize that was on the agenda. But I am willing to continue to serve if you guys
Thank you.
are supportive.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Very supportive.
Does that count as an election?
Well,
Okay. She
aye.
said yes, so okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to legislative items for the purpose of Charter Amendment 218, for the purpose of including gender-specific designations for certain members of the City Council in the Annapolis City Charter. And this happens to be my legislation.
Right.
Along with Alderwoman Kendall Charles and Tierney. You probably recall that this was done, we thought, in total throughout the code under Alderwoman Hoyle.
Yeah.
But then it was brought to my attention that it actually didn't occur everywhere in the charter.
Right.
So this will replace the wording throughout the entire charter.
So if ever there was something that could be classified as no-brainer, I move we recommend approval to the council.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And that is the end of our agenda.
We're done.
Is there anything else for the good of the order? Hearing,
A couple of things not necessarily related to rules, but I am very anxious that we get into this visioning stuff. Some of the discord from last night, I think, is because we're not sharing the same vision about the future of Annapolis as it has to do with development in particular, but I think more broadly the One Annapolis, which I am just dying to see how we all think about it. I don't know what to do. You know, it fell to me, and we had that sort of first effort, which wasn't my choice, but I think it worked out well. But if we don't do something soon, this term's going to be over. I keep trying to emphasize that to Gavin. The amount of time to get stuff done in this term of any magnitude whatsoever is rapidly running out. And, you know, he wants us to do the land swap. I want to know more about that. I was very underwhelmed by the amount of the cost of the bridges versus the amount of money that we have. It was interesting to hear Gunny talk about who would use that bridge, but I hope it's more than just people that are going across Forest Drive for the American Legion. But that's just one part of a bigger puzzle, and I think that it's you and I have talked about this. We need to get into discussions of One Annapolis, what it really means. Had a good one on what would bring Robert Eads to City Dock this morning, I should tell you about. But
this morning, you said?
Yeah, this morning. I'll tell you about it. But we gotta get this moving. And I don't just don't have the sense that there's much oomph from the mayor's office.
What's on the agenda for the next work session?
Oh God, the sector study.
Okay, so
And
the
something
sector
else.
study.
There's two things. The work sessions are booked, to key out till March or May. Yeah.
March, yeah, up until April.
Then maybe either we need another work session, or we pick the next work session that's available and make that the agenda.
You know, I keep saying we should have as many work sessions as we need, and we need to have more time to talk to each other. We do not share our ideas. We make assumptions about what other people's ideas are instead of really actually hearing what they are, and we're never going to be very effective. It's hard enough to do our job as it is, but when we don't have at least an attempt at having a shared vision, or even if it isn't shared, I know what Sheila wants to accomplish, and here's how I can accommodate that, or here's how I'm going to try to change your mind, whatever. But when we don't even have that common understanding, we can't do that, and I think that is very counterproductive, and I think actually worse than that. I think it's kind of destructive.
Well, I know of two situations, two opportunities, where the mayor's going to be talking about his vision. He's supposed to be speaking at Leadership Anne Arundel.
Yep, on the 5th.
On the 5th. And he's supposed to be speaking in my ward in Homes for the Glen on, I think it's the 19th or 18th.
Of February?
Of February. So maybe, and
Maybe we could all just come to your meeting.
That's what, but this is not my meeting. We should be clear. This is not my meeting. He was invited and I was invited. I'm taking the police chief along with me.
You think it's going to be that bad?
It's not, no, but they've had some issues in the community that we have been trying to address. So this is an opportunity. But if he's speaking to other groups, then I say we all go and become part of the audience and learn what it is.
I'll be happy to come.
You know.
You'll need to give us the particulars.
Yeah. So, and maybe the Homes for the Glen meeting is not the opportunity, maybe Leadership Anne Arundel's meeting is a better opportunity.
You know of people who can facilitate. I think to have our next
do.
meeting,
I do.
all we need is someone who's willing to facilitate. I prefer not to do it here, but if this is where we have to do it, fine. It does have to be an open meeting. I was just talking with Julian. They have a thing, we could go back to a Blue Heron room and set up a camera, but we don't have to make this a very complicated thing. And I don't think there's going to be any problem getting us to talk. And Gavin has said that he's more than willing to lay out his vision. I think that could be the starting place. We can parse it into components and say, well, you know, in your vision, do you mean such and such? Or for me, blah, blah, blah. And I bet you we could fill up a big amount of time and get it facilitated and recorded. And I bet it'll mean we need another meeting, but I think we'll be a lot further along than we are now.
Well, I think you'll have a lot of variation depending on the ward as well.
But
but
that's
besides that, I think there is a collective city vision, but with a lot of different.
Well, I don't see it as a ward-specific conversation. If it's the mayor's one Annapolis, it should be everybody, you know.
Well, it can be both.
Well, we have to take one step at a time,
Yeah.
I would think. You want to start with the little visions in all the different wards and then work into the big vision? You want to start with the big vision and then, you know, I don't know.
So how many times have I heard different people, we'll pick Ward 9, saying, well, our issues are different than Ward 1, but Ward 1 gets all the attention. I think you could put that in everybody's mouth. That doesn't need to be the next meeting, but wards are different. I'd say vive la différence, but it needs to be recognized. You know, I think that we should each say, here's what my constituents seem to be most interested in. How does that, so like Rob did one of those exercises like I did with putting everything on the pin board and prioritizing it. It'd be interesting to see how, did Mary Ann ever finish doing that? I have to jack her up. It'd be interesting to see how your votes, his was a little different than mine, but I think the outcomes are going to be pretty approximate. Mine at the time, the big issue was the city's relationship with the housing authority. I don't even think that even came up in yours, Rob. But, you know, just doing that kind of stuff to say, well, where do we have the same issues? And where, oh yeah, I never really thought about how Rhonda has to deal with whatever it is. So, I don't, you know, I just think we need to have that. And particularly since this mayor is much more dynamic and go-get-'em kind of thing. And we've got to figure out where we can help them and where we don't want to help them. But, you know, I've said enough.
Well, I say we take an action. Either we schedule another work session with that as the topic, or we go to take another opportunity where he's going to be talking to the community and let him talk to us along with the community.
Yeah.
You know, those are the two options in my mind. So, do we want to ask Takia to
Actually,
try to...
You had a great idea. I think Reverend Coates would be a good facilitator.
He's an excellent, and he's a trained professional.
And he did such a great job in Eastport working together. And we just go find when the Blue Heron room, and then we line up with Julian, bring a camera. And we just take it into our own hands, because waiting for it to come out of the mayor's office is just not going to happen.
Well, and I was thinking with asking Takia to see if she could schedule for us another work session, if that's the route we want to take.
But you want the work session off-site?
Yeah. Well, we need to have it. First preference for me would be to have it in a setting like that, because it was very conducive to conversation. It was a beautiful setting. It was quiet. There weren't a lot of interruptions. This one will have to be open.
And it didn't cost us any money, right?
Didn't cost us any money. This one will have to be open to the public. It'll have to be filmed. I doubt very many people from the
That
public.
one wasn't open to the public? How did we do that?
Because apparently we weren't making policy discussions. We were just talking about.
Well, how does this differ? We're not making policy
Well,
discussions.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think this whole crap with this open meeting stuff is bogus, but I don't want to get Regina in an uproar. So if it has to be open, it'll be
Well,
open.
I've said a number of times, I think we need an AG's opinion to clarify
agree.
this.
I second that.
Yeah.
Because two of us can no longer have a discussion about anything. And I don't think
Agree.
that's the intent.
No, it isn't.
So I would like,
Well,
I don't know
maybe
whether
the-
it
maybe
was the
this-
mayor I asked to seek a AG's opinion on it or not.
Who can ask?
Louise, I think
It's
you
the
did.
city attorney.
I don't think he ever did.
No,
You
I
mean
thought
get
you
a-
brought it up during his.
Oh, I probably did. He promptly probably ignored it, so. You know.
But you asked for an AG opinion on something else, and they said they couldn't do it for some reason, years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was now, but they didn't want you.
Yeah, well, I think that was,
Mhm.
I think that was it.
You know, ignorance is bliss.
No, I'm the council, if we needed, we could, I'm sure, get a resolution together asking for, I don't know, that may not even be
Do we
needed.
even have
We
to
could
do
probably
that?
just
Why
do a
can't
letter.
the three of us just co-sign a request?
Yeah, I don't
sure.
think we have to, go that far.
I think we
and
should, because it's
this-
hindering us doing
Right.
our jobs, really. I mean, because I think those kind of conversations where we're not making policy, we're just talking about general envisioning and,
Mhm.
that's,
Mhm. So, I mean, if we could do it in the other work session, or whatever we call it, retreat, there's no reason why we can't do it again. And this is a decision we make.
No argument for me.
We make.
Okay.
Let me repeat that.
Well, so.
We make.
Rob and I have had two experiences where we wanted to meet with Pete and Rich and so forth. It was Rob's meeting. I was invited to come to it, and I was advised that we were violating the Open Meetings Act and that we were, what was it, that we should be willing to take the consequences. And I said, sue me. I've seen how bad it's gone for, what's her name over at Hopco?
Beverly.
Beverly, yeah. How many times have they opened? It's like, what are the consequences?
May I ask Mr. Chase,
Yeah.
would the Ethics Commission weigh in on this topic of open meetings?
If there was a specific ethics.
Could you mind coming to a mic, please?
Yeah, we're still, the session is still in session, so.
Yeah.
Do I have to reintroduce myself?
No.
No,
Okay.
I think we'll remember.
If the Ethics Commission receives a official and compliant complaint, we will look into that, the circumstances of that complaint. And then if there is an open meetings component to it, then we would bring in our representative from the city attorney's office to help with determining if that's in our jurisdiction or not. I can't do a blanket statement because we'd have to look at the exact complaint. We have addressed that in the past, and that's, if it's not private, it's been posted. I can't give you a specific one off the top of my head, but we have had instances of that topic.
Well, I think it would, I think it would behoove us to get an answer before it got to the Ethics Commission in some manner. I mean, especially if he's saying it's just going to essentially go back to the law
It's going
office.
back to the very problem.
Right.
The
Which
source of the problem is the
hasn't
Office
provided
of
us
Law.
clarity on.
Right. I mean, for our commission, I am the Certified Open Meeting Act representative. I've took the training. So I have a little bit more knowledge, but it is always best to go back to the training material and the exact specifications when I have to make a decision.
Okay.
Although, what if we we might get a ruling from the AG that's
Well, yeah,
could
it
not
could
be
go
what we
either way.
expect.
I don't really, it doesn't bother me. I'm perfectly happy to have it public and filmed, they can observe, they're not participating. It doesn't bother me, but I
Well,
think it's
yeah.
just, we need to do it sooner rather than later.
Just thinking about I could go either way, but I'm just wondering what would be best to have the most productive, open dialogue amongst ourselves. Do we think it would benefit to have a
I've been
closed-
trying to think about what I
closed
would
meeting or
say
not?
in that meeting that I wouldn't want to say in front of my constituents, and I really can't think of
Yeah.
anything. So it doesn't bother me that it's open. I just like a change of venue. I don't want to do it here. I want to do it in that kind of a setting. I found it very relaxing, very conducive. It was very friendly, and I'd just like to do that. So this is not business as usual. This is the council noodling over the vision of the future of the city of Annapolis. You would think our constituents would want us to have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, and then and they probably would want to listen in.
Fine.
When I asked for the ethics recommendation for Mr. Chase, I wasn't suggesting that we would be doing something at that meeting that would be contrary to what the law says.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the ruling that we can't have any discussion amongst us. And that two of us can't get together. That's the part that concerns me.
We can't even call up each other, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. I know,
You know,
I mean, how are we supposed to get anything done?
Exactly.
If I
So-
call you and say, well, what do you think about this thing in the budget?
And I have to say, I'm
and
sorry,
we're on
but
the
I can't
finance
talk to you
committee,
about
it's
that
like,
because I'll break
bullshit.
the open meeting.
Well, it's hard enough for us to do our jobs.
So
as
I've
it
talked
is.
to 3 different lawyers whose opinion I value, and they're saying, that is absolutely not the intent, one of whom works at the federal level. It's not the intent of
Yeah,
it.
that's
It-
what I-
It's not to be stifling. You don't want to say, hey, look, I'll make this decision on the budget for you if you'll make this decision for me.
Well, we know that we do that, but we don't, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. I was just kidding, I'm just kidding. So, well, we still need to take an action.
Yes.
If you'd like. What is it? Do we want to plan a work session and ask Takia to help get a date when everybody's available?
The thing that works best for the working people was like that Saturday or Sunday, just take
What
half a
working-
day.
oh, okay, you mean the working-
Yeah, for people,
Saturday
yeah, and we
in
did it
December,
over the
wasn't it?
lunch hour, so that was nice to have a lunch break.
So, Finance Committee agenda, we need a budget.
Yep.
Food, and a stipend for the facilitator. And not a
Do you have any idea how much?
$3,000 stipend for the
Yeah.
facilitator.
Do you know how much he would need?
I'll find out.
Yeah.
See what he-
Will
we
you see him tonight at the caucus?
I don't know. I'm not sure he usually comes, but
Okay.
I'll reach out to him.
Maybe we'll just get lemongrass for lunch.
You know,
I'll
we
make
shouldn't
sandwiches.
acknowledge that.
That's right.
Everybody make a sandwich.
Brown bag, we can do brown
Yeah,
bag.
brown
Well,
bag.
yeah. Well, I don't do brown bags, but I can stop at Subway and get my brown bag.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be complicated.
yeah. So do we want to pick a Saturday and see if we can get everybody's buy-in?
I guess we'll
We
send
will,
out an
there will
email
be
to.
the cost of it being filmed, whether it's here or someplace else, so we'd have to deal with that. Do we have Finance Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Do we want to do it, well, we only have, after this Saturday, 2 Saturdays left in this month, 16th and 23rd. March 2nd won't work for me. March 9th is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Is that good, Rob, for you?
I'm waiting for my calendar to open.
So, I mean, just throwing a date out. We don't
Yep.
know that the mayor's available then.
March what?
March 9th.
9th.
It looks okay, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put it on my calendar, and I'll find out from Teresa what we need. If we do it here, we're still gonna have to pay for for it to be filmed. If we do it over at the Blue Heron Room, which is personally my preference, but we need to find out.
So we're talking 9 in the morning, 10 to...
9:30 to 1:30.
Sorry, what time?
9:30 to 1:30.
10, 11, 12, 1, 4 hours?
Yeah, and that way we can run over a half hour.
Okay. So, Takia, can you send something out to the council and see if that date works and those times for everybody?
Sure.
We should probably see if the mayor's available first.
Yeah, I will. When you should start.
Okay, I put it on my calendar, and then we
I
can
have too.
talk to, and I think if everybody just brings, I'll buy soft drinks or something, and we can just bring our own lunch. We don't have to get into a big whoop-de-doo on that, although I thought the last one wasn't that expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can order one of those big subs or something. It doesn't have to be a big deal.
I think a big dish
The
of
sandwiches,
paella.
I was not impressed with, well, whatever it was we
Yeah,
had
the
left.
sandwiches weren't all that. They weren't world beating.
So,
All right, good.
Move to adjourn?
yeah.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you much. Meeting's adjourned.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chase.
Okay.